You're listening to Permission to Shine, the podcast. Stories of overcoming obstacles and finding self-empowerment with Sherisse Bisram, Inner Power Activation Leader. The Oxford Dictionary describes permission as the action of officially allowing someone to do a particular thing, consent, authorization. What if you were that someone and you gave yourself the permission to be everything you wanted to be and more? No more playing small and accepting less than. You are worthy of the life of your dreams, regardless of what it is that you've been through. And honestly, it's exactly what you've been through that shaped you into the version of yourself that you are now. Like a diamond, you've endured so much, but instead of breaking, you have become stronger and brighter. And if that's not a reason to shine, then I don't know what is. And if nature can do it, then why the hell can't you? You are brave, you are strong, you are powerful, and you are enough. Hear my call and give yourself the permission to shine, because you don't realise how many people are inspired by your light. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 76. I always say, oh my God, I can't believe I've recorded this many episodes, but I still think the same thing every time. And it's just amazing, isn't it? Now, when you think about that, like the consistency, the dedication, the time, I'm proud of me. And I hope that you feel proud of you too. But I wanted to jump on today and really talk about this inner winter time that I think a lot of people are going through. So if you are listening to time, I'm actually recording this on the 1st of December. And I feel like as autumn has commenced in the world, I say the world, in the UK, I feel like we are all experiencing some form of leaves falling away. And that looks very different to all of us. But I really felt that shift in October, November time. I definitely feel like that was my personal autumn, winter time. I went really inside myself. And in that period of time when we are internal, that's when we have to do the shadow work. That's when we have to face those uncomfortable things about ourselves and about life, and our perspective of life. And if we don't utilize and work through those things, they get bigger, they get heavier, and they become larger of an obstacle. And that's really the theme that's ran through my personal experience, like I just said to you, but also with a lot of my clients as well. And it doesn't matter where you are in terms of, your life, in terms of if you're exceeding your expectations or if you're not where you want to be yet, we're all going to experience these light and shade moments of life, right? And I always say, and if you've been listening, you'll know I always say that the arrow pulls back before it launches forward. And that is really a sign that you are breaking through a new chapter and a new timeline, a new version of you. Just as the butterfly goes into the cocoon, right, and then emerges into the butterfly, it first has a period of darkness. So I really want you to start to reframe these difficult, hard moments because they are essential to your growth. There is no way you can ascend and grow and expand without retracting first. It's almost like if you think about a runner prepares before they start running. They don't just hear go and they just begin running. They start with a one leg bend or slightly back to give them the support and the momentum to push forward. And that's essentially what happens when we are forced to look inward, when we're forced to come into that hibernation stage. And I notice it myself when it's coming, and you might too. I mean, this might be your normal behavior pattern, but it's not for me. I don't scroll. I'm not really a scroller, but I find that when I'm in a moment of things feel a little bit difficult, or if I feel a bit overwhelmed, I feel myself scrolling at night. Now I have screen time, so it'll cut off at a certain point anyway. But I might, instead of being present and around, I'm then on my phone and I'm like, what am I trying to avoid here? And I ask myself these questions again because I am so self-aware. But I'm saying this to kind of just make you aware for yourself. Like if you find that every night you're scrolling for an hour, like really sit with yourself and ask yourself, like, what am I numbing myself from? And it is uncomfortable. I'm not going to pretend that it feels good, but what does feel good is getting through the other side of it or making sense of it. And that is obviously the work that I do, right, with my clients. Like when I explain to them the reason that they're doing whatever it is their thing is. So, for example, for me at a time, it was overworking. I still did that now. And as some of you might know if you follow me on social media, I twisted my ankle. I have never twisted or broke or had any physical ailments in my body that have been to my physicality. Like I've had obviously stomach issues and IBS and things like that, but physical injuries aren't a thing for me. So that was a real sign from the universe for me to say, slow the hell down, you know, really quieten down from everything that you're doing and face what you need to face. And really and truly, when I had the revelation, which was a couple of days ago, so bearing in mind, I've kind of been swimming in and out of this kind of current, the current has been strong and I was pushing against it, swimming against it to kind of come through it. And that's obviously my mentality and understanding is we have to go through these things, right? But something really amazing happens when you surrender and you stop trying to swim against the current. You end up being taken with the ocean, with the stream, into the place you're supposed to be. And that is essentially what I was doing for myself was I was swimming against the current. I was focusing on all of the things I needed to do, again, the masculine, thinking about all the doing instead of surrendering and allowing the situation to come to me. Now, I've ebbed and flowed between that state for, the last few weeks. And I think it was really essential for me because I understand now that I'm in a new timeline space. And it was a reminder that the way I was doing things before, even though they are far greater and far better than the things I've been doing prior, I needed to do it again differently. And it is because you are always tested before the bigger breakthrough, right? And I know in myself that I have the capacity now to hold more clients, to make more money than I've ever made and to create new offers that not only support, the girls in the schools, but the women in my one-to-one, but also another space here. And I can feel it coming through and I don't know quite what it is yet. So when I do, obviously you'll see it. But I had to break through this urgency of me, trying to do everything myself. And I think a big step of that for me, and really, obviously, all of this is masculine energy, as you can probably tell. The feminine wants me to surrender into this, so stop swimming, let go, and you will find your way into the route you're supposed to be in. And I'm kind of, like I said, in that space now where things are starting to come in, like coincidences and the angel numbers are starting to come back. And I'm like, okay, I'm excited what this looks like. But, you can't be 1 foot in and 1 foot out of anything, right? And so the universe takes things away from you or physically makes space for you if you aren't doing it for yourself. Now, a lot of the time, we can be doing all of the right things, but there's still something that is out of our control or beyond our control. And that is a big part of my story. If you've been listening or, follow me on socials, like the masculine energy and the need to control is something that's so deeply embedded in me and coded in my DNA that I have to override the system. And if I don't pay attention enough, the system might override me. And this is what I say to you all when you're in burnout, overwhelm, if something traumatic happens, you will fall back to the system that you know. So it's really important that we pay such close attention. Like I am such a self-aware person, and I could feel myself doing these little things, and I was almost like rocking backwards and forwards, in and out of masculine, in the masculine, out of masculine. And the masculine is important, right? We need some form of action, and it needs to be divine masculine, which is, trusting that you've thought about it, it feels right, so you do it. Not you do it and then think about how it feels, right? That's the reverse way. And that's the coding that I've always had. So yeah, really kind of, like I said, swam backwards and forwards in that space for a while. And then just a couple of like big breakthrough things were happening in between, like twisting my ankle and things like that, like maybe big payouts and stuff like that I needed to pay. And, all of those things, it's all of that ebb, all of that ebb. And I think I've spoken about this before. So then now everything's ebbed out. I had to let go for it to flow back in. And essentially, that's what's happening now. And it was just one small moment for me where I was about to teach at school teach my program, and I realized I was really tunnel visioning and focusing on the problem area that I was in, and I didn't focus on the solution. And something like, again, my guides or the higher power of the universe was like, what about the solutions? And I was like, yes. Like, and it, you know what? It wasn't even what if, it just showed me it, just showed me the solution. And I was like, ah, and I just started laughing. I started laughing at myself because I was like, how have I been so in my own way that I was not seeing that part, right? That big, beautiful part. And it's almost like, when you zoom into something and you're looking at one small part of this situation, and this is why I always say to you, zoom out. And that's what happened. I almost zoomed out and saw how insignificant that little problem was that I was dealing with. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what have I been wasting my time on? But this is it, right? This isn't just your fault. We are in a society where with people and situations that all line up for us to follow this same routine and pattern, right? So for me, for example, I can go into this feeling of being like, oh, when's my time to have my family and all of those things. I could do that, right? And a couple of years ago I was in that space of doing that, but after having a relationship recently, I'm in no rush now. And I feel like the universe presented me with that opportunity to see that clearly. And I needed to get to that point where I'm no longer in a rush or feeling lack because of that thing. I zoomed out and saw the bigger picture. Like, why would I waste time and energy on someone or people or relationships that don't serve the highest version of my good, right? So this is where I zoomed out to see the bigger picture of my life. And I was like, how lucky am I that I've got to travel the world through my career, that I've got to heal myself and understand myself on such a deep layer that all of these things make sense to me all the time. And not only that, but support other people in doing the same for themselves, to really find that self-empowerment piece. How lucky am I that I get to do that first? So then when I am ready to have my own family and I meet the person I want to be with, how beautiful is that going to be and feel? And when we try and skip those steps, we end up going back to the beginning again and having to repeat the cycle because the healing isn't linear, right? Now, I will never say that anything is wrong in doing that, but there is no shortcut. That I think that's what I'm trying to get at there. There's no shortcut to what it is you truly want. And when you let go of trying to get there, the universe will actually send you there quicker. That is literally that's like hope. That's the law of the universe. It's like let go and it will take you there. And it's so simple and frustrating at the same time, especially like when you've been in a similar situation to me where, you've had to survive and being in your masculine is so, I say comfortable in quotation marks, because it's not comfortable. I feel burnt out. I feel agitated. I feel drained when I'm in my masculine energy. And that's really as well part of my human design type, like the manifesting generator. I can't do things that don't fill me up. So I love being on my client calls. I love teaching and delivering and speaking. I love recording this podcast. That's my favorite thing to do. I don't love admin. I don't love writing copy. I don't love all of behind the scenes stuff. So, as part of this, what I'm talking about with you all right now is that next year in January, my plan is to start investing in a team. Because currently, right now, everything you see from me is ran by me. So I'm doing about 5 different job roles in my own business right now, which is, inevitable. You have to start somewhere. And what's really beautiful about this is that I now know how everything works. So when I do finally get people in to support me, I know how I want things done and hopefully better than what I do on my own. And I'm doing a great job. I'm not shading myself at all here. But this is, I think, where the universe is showing me that you don't have to do it all on your own. It doesn't have to be hard. It actually gets to be easy. And when you start to make the space, like if I start to hand over jobs to someone else, the ones I don't like doing, I get to show the universe that I get to do more of what I do like doing and what I'm actually really good at. And I know that a lot of people listening might not be in a financial situation where they can do that. But I'll be honest with you, to pay someone else right now, as well as myself, is a big leap, is a big stretch. I don't know if that's even going to be possible. But what I do is I trust. I trust that the universe is making this apparent to me again, because it's not the first time it's done it, to show me that if I create the space in my diary and in my time, more of what I do want will come through. And that is what the universe has showed me time and time again through every stage of my life, as a dancer, as a woman, just in general, even in my hardest moments of my life, the moments where I was like, I just don't care anymore. That's when it started to come through. How many times have you heard someone say to you, oh, I met them when I wasn't looking, like the person, the love of their life? They're like, oh, yeah, I weren't looking when I met them. I'm like, that's the universe. That is the universe putting it in your direction for a reason. Now, on the dating front, there are little things that you can do for yourself. Like I've said that I'm not going back on dating apps. I'm just not doing it. It's not for me, right? No shade to anyone that has done it and it works for them. I think congratulations, that is incredible. And I'm really happy for you. I generally really am. Because I think that, there are, if you're on there, then there must be amazing people on there, right? Absolutely that. But for me, it doesn't work. And I've always known it doesn't work. I don't feel right with it. And I think because I use social media for my work, it feels a bit unnatural for me. And the guys I have dated from there, kind of been the same pattern I've attracted over and over again, right? So what I know now is I've got to actually be prepared to meet someone in real life. That means I've got to talk to people, right? Now, I love talking to people for my job, love it. When it's a personal thing and I'm out with my friends, I'm not thinking about meeting someone. That's just not in my mind. However, I need to be now open to that opportunity. So I can't just be tunnel vision on my friends when I'm out. I have to just broaden again, zoom out and look around, see if there's anyone around there. And also, another thing that my friend said to me the other day, which I was absolutely howling at, is that she said, when you're walking around, she was like, you travel a lot, you're in and out of London a lot, you're doing all the things a lot, going to events and stuff. She was like, on your way there, have you got your headphones in and are you thinking about something or on your phone? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I am. She was like, well, there you go. How is someone going to know that you are interested because you're not paying attention, your head's not up? And I remember that if you guys have been listening up to date, I had a dating expert, relationship expert called Andre Paradis, and go back and listen to that one because it was gold. And I did an Instagram live with him as well, so that's on my grid somewhere. That was absolute gold. And he said to me, the men that are, the divine masculine, that want to take care of you, their heads are up. And I was like, isn't it funny that those men with their heads up are looking for the women with their heads up? And I was like, yo, how many of us have said, oh, we're just going to wait till he knocks down my door because that's the only way it's going to happen, right? Put your head up. And I said that to myself. That's my own advice that I'm taking there. And I'm very open in sharing this with you because I do believe that someone listening to this is relating to it. Or if you are in a relationship, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense because that happened. Or you might have a friend that's single and you're like, yeah, when is your head up? It's never up, right? So as a little bit of self-advice that I'm sharing out loud because I feel like that's going to help someone. Someone might need to hear that today. So there you go. I mean, hopefully everything of what I'm sharing right now is important to someone in some degree. And if you're not in that space in your life right now, as in things have been hard or things have felt a bit grey, you will get to that point at some point in your life. There's always going to be like a lag before the takeoff. And this is what is so important for us to understand, that these moments are so natural and normal. And I say normal as in with no quotations, because this is part of life. Everyone goes through this point at some point in their life, unless they have no want to grow or expand and they're just going to keep doing the same thing every single day and numb themselves till they die, basically. Because we all know some people like that, right? I know a few, and that's fine. I would say they're content. They're not content, but they're going to moan about it all the time and never do anything about it. That's not my people. That's not who I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to you who has an aspiration, a dream, a goal, whether it's just to have more happiness, more confidence, more time, more money, more success, whatever it is for you, whatever that thing is for you, you will go through this death and rebirth cycle. And that is what it is, right? But Scorpio season, it's so much more heavier, it's so much more dense because it really is uprooting that thing inside of you. But when these little moments of death and rebirth happen, and these arrow pulls back before it launches forward again, because it's Sagittarius season as well, if you're listening to time. But even if you're not listening to time, these moments keep happening, and they are good. They are good moments. And that's really what I want this takeaway to be for you, is that when it feels like everything's falling apart, it's about to come together far better than you can ever imagine. That is literally it. It's the quantum leap. It's the quantum leap technology in the universe, is that everything must fall apart for the new to come through, right? Again, I've said this before, the leaves fall off of the trees, they wilt into the ground, they die, so then the new can come through and come out again. Now, your seasons might not last as long as, nature's seasons, which is incredible. Mine are so much quicker than they used to be. But again, because I'm aware and I'm paying attention, I'm getting out of my own way. But that does come down to a choice of your own to be aware. Because all of the time that we are thinking that we are a victim of circumstance, or that life has dealt us a heavy hand, which sometimes it has, like I definitely know, and I've met a lot of women, that have had the same or similar or relatable life experiences that I have, where it has been hard and heavy. But I promise you now, that was given to you for a reason. I believe your soul chose that for a reason. And I know it's annoying. It's annoying. I get annoyed at myself. I'm like, why did we want it to be hard? Please tell me why. And then the voice above me says, because you were meant to lead others out of the darkness and into the light. And I'm like, cool, cool story. Yeah, I'll take that responsibility then. Yeah, sure. But I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't change it. I would not change it for the world. And I went to an event this weekend, and it was with my very first mentor that I had at the beginning of my business journey. And I've been really lucky to stay in her world in and out. That was who I went to LA with. And, I've also had like a really incredible mentor recently as well. And each mentor I've had, I've learned something from, I've learned something from, and I've had a couple of them in between, but they were like my long-term mentors. And each time I learned something different. But this time round was a real full circle moment, because as we enter January 2025, that'll be 2 year mark of me starting my business. So starting it from scratch. I didn't make any money in my business officially until April 2023. So technically that's when my business officially really took off, but I was doing all the groundwork until that point. Um, and it was just a really nice moment to be in that space and look at this room full of women that are incredibly high achieving, by the way. Like, there was a lady in the room that is set to earn 20 million pounds worth of property in 2025. Like, these are, the elite women of the business industry, which I've been lucky enough to be in so many rooms like that in the last few years. And it's just that reminder that if you want to achieve something that you've never seen before, you have to put yourself in those spaces where the women are. And what's even more magical than that is seeing and understanding that these women didn't come from money or success, a lot of them. They've created that for themselves. And how wonderful is it to know that that is also possible for you? So if you right now are feeling like, I don't know where to begin, I don't know where to start, what's my first step? Just do one thing. And I promise you, the next step will appear as a result of that. We get so caught up, like I said to you, like I was, in all the little details, in trying to make everything work. There's lots of moving parts to my business. And when I get so caught up in the actual clogs of them, is it cogs? It's cogs, isn't it? All the cogs and all the bits moving in between. When I hone in on that, I forget to zoom out the bigger picture of what I have created in the last few years. And honestly, I'm so proud of it. And I think that, going into these schools, teaching these girls, and also teaching my female clients, my women clients, is just a full circle of this real beautiful thing that I'm creating. I think I've said to you all before that my Dharma in Vedic astrology, like my moon's Nakasatra, if you want to ask me about that, drop me a DM, is I can't remember what it's called now. my lady, she would know. But basically your moon nakasatra, there's a name for it. And I think because mine's a Capricorn moon, it's ruled by Ganesh, which is the again is a Hindu god. So these are all the like intricate spirituality things. I feel like I'm going a bit too into a tangent here, but basically my dharma is the destroyer of obstacles. And what my friend and I were speaking about the other day was the fact that I am breaking a cycle, not only in my own life, but by going into the schools and teaching these girls these things, these experiences, these important moments and life lessons. I'm helping them to break the cycle for themselves so they don't go on to repeat a pattern that would have been a generational cycle for them. I'm stopping that in their tracks. And the same with the women that come to me. It's like, that I'm stopping them from repeating the same perpetual cycles over and over again and encouraging them and supporting them to create and forge a new path of generational abundance, wealth, success, happiness, fulfillment, joy, all of those beautiful things. And I was like, wow, when that came round in that conversation, I was like, yes, this is why. This is why. So I really do feel like this introspective moment that I had over the last few months, when I was honing in on the masculine and doing all the things and doing all the doings, it wasn't actually that bad of a thing. Like it was uncomfortable and it was gritty, but equally, it was important for me to keep my head down, to keep working through it. So when I did pop out for air and for light and I got to emerge fully in it, I was like, wow, look at how far I've come. Look at, even though that was a little dark moment and a little hard moment, look at what's coming next. Look at all these opportunities, look at all these people. And, like some of the really beautiful feedback that I get from not only my clients of how they have been able to completely transcend the the glass ceiling that was there for them. Like before working with me, they felt trapped or stuck or lost in this confined space that, maybe their family set for them or a partner in the past had set for them. They've completely broken that glass ceiling and ascended far beyond a version of themselves they could ever imagine. And that doesn't always look like, more money or more love or whatever. That looks like more internal freedom. And it's the same with these girls, like there's a girl that shows up to my program, and again the teachers go and get them if they don't come in straight away, and she was always a little bit like hesitant to come, that she was one of the girls that had to be brought into the room. And the last session I had, I was teaching them about boundaries, and in the visualization I got them to see all the people that love them surround them, and I asked them at the end, every single one of them, even the shy ones, I'm like, you have to give me a word, because again, I'm encouraging them to use their voice and to share their opinion, even if it's something I don't particularly want to hear. Like they could tell me that session was crap and I'd be like, okay, you've shared your opinion, thank you. I said to her, how do you feel? And she said to me, accepted. And I was like, wow. And on the first week, she said, I don't know what I like about me. I don't know what I'm good at. So the fact that she felt accepted, I was like, wow, that was such a beautiful moment. And again, I've had a really lovely moment with another girl that thought she was broken and nothing worked until she began to do this work with me. And she was like, I don't know what you've done, but it just worked. And I was like, wow, I'm so proud of myself for this. Because again, this is my lived experiences. This is everything I've been through and come out the other side of time and time again. Even this little dark circle again that I went through recently, it's like a reminder of why I do this work. I'm continuing to repeat my own teachings for myself, and I keep ascending through the spiral too. So I know this stuff works firsthand, not only for me, but my clients too. And what's so wonderful as well, my adult clients, is that I'm not only supporting their lives, but their partners' lives and their families' lives. Like the fact that they'll come back to me and say, yeah, we had a conversation about the point that you bring up in my family the other day, and this was what came forward. And everyone's like, wow, like we never thought about it like that, or we never understood it like that, and we stopped passing blame like that. That's my gift, and I'm so proud of that. So today, or whenever you listen to this, I want you to think about and write it down. What are you good at? What are the things that you are good at? And what are the things that you are celebrating for yourself over this last year, the last few years, your life as a whole? What are they? Because I promise you, when you start to focus on the good and the achievements and the happiness, more of it will come through. And then from that energy, especially if you're listening over these next few days on in the 1st of December, but even if you're not, write down what you want to bring in now, because that beautiful energy of how far you've come to where you're going to go, there's not so much of a gap anymore. You're already in it. You're already in that energy of feeling worthy and deserving because you've done it all before, right? To some extent, you have achieved something, whether even if it's just the fact that you are listening right now. Do you know that I listened to a statistic the other day that said that there is only like a small percentage of people in the world that listen to podcasts? How crazy is that? So there's so many people that are watching, TV and all of those things are listening to music, but only a small percentage of people are listening to podcasts. And they're the people that will go on, that are more likely to go on to create success in their own life because they're dedicated to their own mental well-being to some extent, or they're learning or growing or expanding. So already you listening to this shows that you are someone that prioritizes themselves, or at least their mental well-being, or at least is more inquisitive about what life looks like. So really and truly take the note of that. What are you proud of yourself? What are you achieving? And all of those things. It's so, so, so important. And please, if you do listen to my podcast, even if it's the first time, if you can rate the podcast and subscribe, that helps me out massively. This year, for 2025, my goal is to get more listeners, to support more people, because this is free, right? The podcast I do is out of my own time and out of my own heart. And if I can reach more people and support more women as a result of this, that is really my goal. So please, if you do listen, please can you just subscribe? I think just follow even. You just follow the podcast and rate it with the stars. That just makes such a massive difference. And if you're listening on Apple, if you can write a review, even if it's just a few lines, what your one takeaway was, that makes such a difference to allowing this podcast to get further across. So thank you so much for your time and energy and always listening. And I always want to hear what you think about it. So please do, share it in your stories, drop me a DM on my socials. Like, I'm always up for having a conversation. That is just something I like to do, as a human being, let alone as a business, So yes, please do reach out. Also, if you are listening before the 3rd of December, and if you are listening after, it'll be recorded, so you can click it. I'm hosting a free webinar for mums and just explaining about my school program and how that's benefiting and supporting the girls, but also for me, this next step for how I can support women and mothers in this space, because I know there's a connection there. As you know, if you've been listening, my sister has gone through such a difficult time with, her experience of bringing up 2 girls on her own, all these things and trauma patterns that got repeated from us in childhood have repeated in her life, and now she's working to change that, and she's doing a really amazing job, by the way. So I do believe there's more help that I can give there. So if you are a mum of a teenage daughter, I have something to really support you in this. So please do click that link in my bio, and or obviously drop me a message, because I'm always happy to have a chat, as I said. So I'm wishing you a really, really beautiful week. I'm going to do 2 more podcast episodes with guests and then 1 more of mine. And that'll be the end of this year season. So then we'll kick back off. But I think for you guys, you won't notice a gap because I'm going to make it flow in between. But yeah, it's just really important that this is always available for you. And you can always go back and listen to the other episodes, even if you're not listening to time, because I think there's always something that's important that needs to be heard. So yes, without further ado, I will wish you a beautiful week until we next time listening to each other. I mean, or you listen to me, however you want to word that. But I am thinking of you, and I'm just saying that again to recap, that we need to go in to come out the other side. That arrow pulls back before it launches forward. So trust this process, and I promise you it will feel easier. Love and light.
If this episode resonated with you, please do like, follow and share with someone that you know would benefit. If you're looking to dive in deeper to becoming your most unapologetic, most authentic, shining self, please do head to my website and join my newsletter, where you will find out about all of my upcoming events and speaking opportunities and all of the things that I have going on. And also, if you would like to work with me, please do drop me a DM on any of my socials or through my website. Love and light.